Hello everybody, my name is Marlo and today I'm going to show you how to build this free range animal barn in Minecraft. So this build is actually from episode 5 in my vanilla survival series, which was released a long time ago. But ever since that video I've had a lot of people asking for a tutorial on it, so about a year and a half later, here it is. The idea with this barn is that it allows you to contain 4 different types of animals in a secure location, whilst also letting them have lots of room to move around. Plus it also looks a bit better than just shoving them all in a tiny fenced off area. Before we begin, you're going to want to check out the description down below for a full list of resources that you will need to complete this build. So this is the size and layout of the main building. The iron blocks represent empty floor spaces, so you will want to leave them blank for now. The orange blocks mark where you need to place barrels, the red blocks mark where you need to place oak logs, and the blue blocks mark where you need to place stripped oak logs. Once you've done all of that, you should be left with something that looks like this. Before we go any further, just make sure you have quite a lot of room around this main building area. We want to give our animals lots of room to roam around outside, so just make sure you got some space outside of this circle. Once you've done all of that, you can then place 3 more stripped oak logs on top of the stripped oak logs that we already have down for a total of 4 block high pillars on all of them. And on the oak logs and the barrels, we're going to add 4 more oak logs. So on the barrels, we should have a barrel with 4 oak logs, and then the other one should be 5 oak logs high. Hopefully that makes sense. Next up, you want to come to one of these sides here where we have the barrels with 7 blocks in between them both, and we want to place in an upside down spruce stair on both of the top logs with a regular one coming out the back of it. We then want to have a slab on top of that, then a plank, and then another upside down stair. Same again over this side, so slab, plank, and then stair. And then we want to have another slab on top of both of those, another plank, and then lastly a single upside down stair in the middle. This arch shape can then be copied over to the 3 other sides. Once you've got all 4 of those arches in, we can then come to one of the 4 corners, and what we're going to do is place down 2 upside down spruce stairs on that top middle log. And then we can place a regular one on the back of it just like that, 2 more over here, and then the last one curved round and connecting to that stair over there. So same again over here, we'll have 1 on the back, then 2 when you're facing in this way towards the barn, and then the final one can go here facing this way. Connects up very nicely. And then what we can do is just hop underneath, and in this corner here we're going to have an upside down stair with another one placed on the side so it curves round just a little bit, and then we can do the same over here too. Then you can grab some spruce trapdoors and place 2 on the bottom of that oak log pillar, and we're going to have a spruce stair either side of it with 2 spruce fences on top of it, and then an upside down spruce stair at the top there. And then lastly, what we do for this corner here is just have another stair placed down underneath that one with another one curved round to the side. So we're kind of replicating what we have above it. And then we just want to place 1 and 2 spruce trapdoors, flick them upwards, and it should look like that. And then very quickly, we can just do the same around here too. 2 more spruce trapdoors, and there we go. That's one of the corners done. You can then copy that round 3 more times. So you should have the 4 corners all done. We're now going to start work on the 4 sides, and we're just going to pick one of them and copy it around once again. That's going to be a common theme in this tutorial. So we're just going to pick this side, and we're going to have 3 normal oak logs next to the stripped ones just like that. We can then place in 2 temporary blocks like this so that we're able to have a horizontal log just above it, and then in between those horizontal logs we're going to have some upside down spruce stairs. We can then have 2 more spruce stairs next to those 2 top oak logs with a line of spruce slabs going across. we can then just hop round to the back of the build here, and we're going to have 2 temporary blocks here and here on both of the 2 sides, and then from each of them we just want to have a horizontal line of stripped oak logs going all the way across. We can then get rid of these blocks just like that, and from round the front it should be looking like this so far. What we then want to do is make our doorway. That isn't actually a doorway necessarily, but it kind of looks like one. So the way we're going to do this is with spruce trapdoors, and we're going to come to this right hand side oak log, and we're going to place 2 down on those 2 spots. We're then going to turn around 180 degrees and place another one here, so that when they all fold up, it should connect like that. So what we then want to do on top of all of those trapdoors, hold and crouch whilst you do this, you're going to add an additional 2 on top of all of them as we placed them before, so that when they're all folded up, it kind of looks like a door that swung open that could potentially close and cover up this gap. It can't really, but you're going to have to use your imagination. And the last thing we need to do to complete the side is have a chain underneath that middle stair with a lantern underneath. And if you haven't already guessed, you can now copy what we've just built there round to the other 3 sides. For this next part, we're actually going to step inside of the building here, and we're going to come to one of these corners, and we're going to count in diagonally 1, 2, 3, 4, and on the 5th block here, we're going to place down an oak log, and you can do that 3 more times. And you should end up with a square shape like this. And on top of all of these 4 oak logs, we're going to place down 11 more for a total of 12. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, going all the way up there 3 more times. If you're doing this build in survival, now would probably be a good time to grab some scaffolding if you haven't already. So what we're going to do is pick one of the 4 sides here and place down 2 upside down spruce stairs on the top block of that pillar. We can then have 2 more upside down curved round to the side, just like that. And on top of them, we're going to have 2 spruce slabs, and then 2 spruce planks, and then lastly, an upside down stair in the middle. What we can then do is grab some stripped oak logs and have 5 going across here horizontally from one log to the other. We can then have 2 coming down vertically on either side, and then another horizontal line of 5 going across. We can then grab our spruce trapdoors, and we're just going to have 2 here on either side, a line of stairs across the bottom, and then a line of fences to fill in the gap. And as you may have guessed, you can copy this round 3 more times. To make the roof for this little section here, the very first thing we need to do is have a spruce trapdoor on top of all of these oak logs in the corners. And I just say maybe make them face all the same direction, and you don't have one on another angle like this, just so we can keep the symmetry. Doesn't really matter all that much, but I thought I'd just mention it anyway. So keeping with our spruce trapdoors, we're then going to have a single one on top of those middle blocks. So the upside down stair needs to have a trapdoor on top of it. We're then going to place down a temporary block just off the back of that trapdoor on all 4 sides, and we're going to have a spruce slab on the top of that block. We can go ahead and get rid of the temporary blocks and replace them with a spruce slab, so it's on the back of the trapdoor and then eventually goes up by half a block and sort of connects to that other slab there. So it should look like this for right now. And what we can then do is from each of these slabs just have 1 more, so we're eventually left with a single gap in the middle where we can have an oak trapdoor, just like that. And now what we can do on all of the sides here, so we got to fill these corners in, we're going to have, for now, 2 temporary blocks just placed down like that. And on the back of them, we're going to have 3 oak slabs. We can go ahead and get rid of the 2 temporary blocks and replace them with some oak slabs. And then lastly, we're going to have a temporary block here, and then 1, 2, 3 more oak slabs to fill in the roof like that, which can then be copied round 3 more times. Now that we have this small roof done, we can start work on the bigger roof down here. And what we need to do from each of these central spruce stairs on all 4 sides, try not to punch them out like I just did, but on all of them, what we have to do is place down a spruce trapdoor with a temporary block underneath, then a spruce stair in front of it. Get rid of the temporary block. Then we're going to place down 1, 2 more spruce trapdoors, temporary block once again, another stair, and then lastly another 2 spruce trapdoors, so we get this line going from one side to the other, and you can do that 3 more times of course. As you may have guessed, all 4 of these corners that we have to fill in are identical, so I'll just show you how to do one of them and we'll copy them around afterwards. So what we want to do is come to the back of this spruce plank here on any of them, doesn't matter which one for right now. And what we're going to do is have 1, 2 and 3 stripped oak logs with an oak stair on top of it facing towards the outside. We're then going to have 1, 2 and 3 more stripped oak logs behind that stair, and we're going to have another stair on that outer one, and then lastly we're going to have another stripped oak log there connecting to the oak log pillars. And then what we can do is same again on this side, so come to the opposite full plank over here and we're just going to do the same again pretty much. So 1, 2, 3, then a stair, 1, 2, 3, stair, and then lastly a final log. Just like that. The next step is to fill in the gap between the spruce and the oak here. So what we want to do is place down 1 and 2 oak slabs from the back of that block just below the spruce trapdoors here. We're then going to have a temporary block and an oak slab just in front of it like that, and replace the temporary block with a slab on the bottom part of that stair. We then want to have 1 more along here, another slab here up by half a block, and then a last one here. So we basically have 2, 1, 2, 1, 1 that we want to copy down over here, but down by half a block. So I'll show you how to do that. We want to go across by 1, 2, fairly simple so far. And then we're going to have another slab on the top part of that stair. And while we're at it, we can also place another one on the top part of that stair. We can then place a temporary block here and go across by 2, and then lastly we're just going to have 1 more here. So it looks like this, which you can then copy round over here super quickly too. As for filling in the rest of this, the very first thing we need to do is place down a spruce trapdoor, and once again make sure you're placing them all facing the same direction like we did at the top here. So mine are actually all going to be going in this way. It may be wise to actually just run around real quick and do that before we go any further. So on top of all of the oak logs in the corner, we need a spruce trapdoor. So then what we can do is grab some oak slabs, and we're going to have 1, 2 on each of the sides like that, and then go up by half a block and place in another one. We can then have 1, 2 on either side, then a single one, and then a middle one here in the corner. So it should look like this at the moment. What we can then do from this spruce trapdoor is have 1, 2, and then 3 blocks coming out to either side of it just like this, and then 1 more in the middle here. And then what we're going to do is just place in a temporary block here and place in a slab in front of it and make a little triangle just like that, and have 2 more either side. So I'll just take a final step back before we place in the remaining 3 blocks, which are going to go right here, here and here. So one final last look before we copy it around afterwards. This is what it should look like. You can now do that 3 more times. So that's it for the main part of the building as far as the exterior is concerned. Obviously we're going to come back out here and sort out the outside area with all of the fencing and that sort of thing, but for right now let's head on inside and work on the interior. First things first, we're going to go ahead and get rid of all 5 blocks in between all of these oak logs on all 4 sides, and while we're at it we may as actually well get rid of the rest of the blocks in the middle here. Then we want to grab some stripped spruce logs, and we're going to have 5 going horizontally from each of the oak logs to the next, making a square all the way around. We'll come back and fill this in a little bit, but now what we want to do, from each of these oak logs we're going to go break ahead 1, 2 and 3 blocks forward on all of these, and we also want to go ahead and break 3 blocks forward from these oak logs so we get a connection in the middle like that. So all 4 sides should look like this. Once we've done that on all of them, we can then go ahead and place in some stripped spruce logs once again in the floor to make this pattern. So do this for all of the sides. So once you've got that done, we can go ahead and place some spruce fences on top of all of these logs here, as well as 2 more here and 2 more there with a spruce fence gate in the middle. And as you can see, I've already done that on the other 3 sides. And now what you want to do is just face one of these doors here, and then we're going to turn around and come to these fences and just break these 2 so you can actually walk through into this little area. And you basically just want to repeat that. So on the other side of the door, just go ahead and break the 2 fences all the way around, and this kind of just makes the little areas on the inside to segregate the different animals. So say this is going to be the door the cows go through, they then have the option of going to the inside part here, but can't mix with, say, the sheep. As for this middle section here, we want to go ahead and break this central block down by 1 and 2, and we're going to place a torch here or some other lighting source just to provide a little bit of lighting. We're then going to go ahead and place a spruce trapdoor level with the top of the block, and then we just want to surround the rest of it with some oak slabs as I'm doing here, and we should end up with something like this. I think before we go any further, we should probably get some light in here. So what we're going to do for each of these 4 corners is we're going to have next to these spruce fences, another spruce fence just on this block with a lantern on top of it like so. We can then turn around to this corner here and look up to this oak slab, and we're going to have 1, 2, and 3 chains with a lantern down from below, which nicely provides enough light and there won't be any mob spawning inside of your barn. And you can of course do that for the other corners as well and light up the entire thing. For this next part, we're going to come back to the central section here, and we're actually going to be utilizing the Java feature that allows you to place down ladders on top of trapdoors, just like that. Now you can't do this on Bedrock or other versions of the game, so if you're on that, I'd recommend using scaffolding maybe, would be absolutely fine. But what we're going to do, if you're on Java, come to this central trapdoor and we're going to place down 1. We actually already have 1 there, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and then we're just going to flick all of these down and fall down as we go till we get to the bottom, and we'll get that one too flicked up nicely. And then we're going to place ladders on the front of all of those trapdoors going all the way up. And then if we just climb to the top of here, we can actually place down a final spruce trapdoor there. And if we just perch on top of this trapdoor, what we're then going to do is add in another 5 stripped oak logs underneath the ones we already have placed down on all 4 sides, going all the way across from one side to the other. So it should look like this. And then we can place down a spruce plank on all of the corner blocks there, with 3 upside down spruce stairs on the 4 sides, and then lastly we're just going to fill in the rest of the gaps with our spruce slabs. Of course you're not going to be able to place one here as the block is occupied by the ladder, so it should look like this from underneath. So once you've got this central section all figured out, what you can then do is come to one of the 4 sides here, and what we're going to do is have a spruce stair upside down on the front face of all of these logs here, as well as 2 more underneath these spots just like that. We're then going to connect all of these stairs up with some spruce slabs. So on the top part of the stair, we just want to have a line of slabs going all the way across on all 3 of these, so we eventually end up with something that looks like this. And what we can then do, just behind these blocks, we're going to have a line of barrels horizontally going all the way across, of course crouching as you do that. And what we can do behind the first set of spruce slabs is have a horizontal line of the stripped oak logs, and then lastly we're just going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 spruce trapdoors. So this is what it looks like. It can then be copied round 3 more times. As for making the corners here look a little bit better, we're pretty much just going to be smoothing them out using some stairs for the most part. So we'll start off on the bottom row here with our spruce. So we can go in by 2 blocks here on either side, starting at that stair. We'll then go in by 1 just like this, and then place another one here, and we should be left with 1 in the corner where we can just fill it in nicely like that. Should be pretty smooth and all connected if you've done it as I've done. And then we can switch over to our oak stairs, and we're going to have 1 here and another face round to the side like that. So same again here, and then turn and place another one. We can then place 2 more here, and then lastly another one in the corner, which is actually currently a slab, as you can see. So what you want to do is just break the slab and replace it with an oak stair, and that will look exactly the same from the outside, not to worry. The last thing we need to do is just place down 2 more stairs. Actually, that's a lie. We need to do the same thing again in replacing these oak slab with stairs, just like that. There we go. Sorry for the confusion. Hopefully that was easy enough to follow, and if it's not, well, let me just try and get a good vantage point to stand back and just take a freeze frame, and you can copy it around to the other 3 corners. Now what we're going to do is make these little sections on the floor where we have our lantern look a little bit better. So we can go ahead and break all of the blocks here. Of course, you will not have all of that concrete that I do. And basically what we're going to do is make a combination of brick, granite, and then polished granite. So I'd recommend maybe placing in a couple of pure granite pieces, followed up by a handful of polished granite, and then we can just go ahead and fill the rest in with some brick blocks. Of course, as I always say, you can use slabs if you want to save on some resources, but you can do this for the other 4 corners too, or other 3 corners I should say. As for filling in these areas, we want to create the illusion that mud and dirt is being traipsed on through by the animals, similar to what we have here with the bricks, looking quite dirty with the granite mixed in. So what we're going to do, just for now, call this a cutoff point, and we're going to break those 3 blocks as well as the rest of the grass blocks around it. Maybe keep a couple of dirt blocks on hand, as we're going to be replacing them in a second, but just for now, we can go ahead and fill all of this in with our oak planks. And then at the entranceway here, we're just going to break maybe 1, 2, and possibly 3 here. And we'll just replace that with our dirt blocks for now. We'll probably change them out later for something else. But once you've got that done, you can then pick a couple of spots here, maybe on this spot and then this spot here. We're actually going to place in some torches just because it does get a little bit dark around here. So for each of these, maybe just pick 2 or 3 spots to place in some hidden lighting, and we're just going to cover them up with some spruce trapdoors like that. So you can create this sort of thing on the other 3 sections. So the last thing to work on the inside here is actually up in the hayloft, and as you may have guessed, this is just where we're going to place in a bunch of hay bales. But before we do that, let's sort out this mess of the ceiling. So the very first thing we're going to do is just add another oak slab underneath all of these in the corner. We can then also have 2 upside down oak stairs either side of all of those now what are full blocks. And then in the middle here, we're going to have a spruce stair on all of these blocks, just like that. So we have this at the moment. And then lastly, what we're going to do is replace these slabs with some 4 upside down stairs so that we get a finished ceiling looking like this. Much better in my opinion. So now what we can do is basically just go crazy with some hay bales, making some different stacks of them. Obviously, these are quite an expensive block in survival, so you may want to actually place some blocks behind them just to kind of fluff it out a little bit. That way you don't have to fill in every single block, but pretty much just go crazy with this, placing in as much or as little as you want. Maybe you can just say that you're quite low on hay at the moment and just stick a couple up here. That way you don't have to grind out all of these blocks if you don't want to. But once you've got all of your hay placed down, something like this doesn't really matter all that much. We're just going to place in a couple of fences, maybe on those couple of spots, and place a lantern on top of them. That way we can light it up here, and once again we won't have to worry about mob spawning. So that is the main building entirely done, and now we're going to work on the outside area, starting off with the fencing. And as you can see in my survival world here, I've basically freehanded this. It's not a perfect circle by no means whatsoever. It's kind of off a little bit, but I think it actually looks a little bit better that way. So if you would prefer a non-perfect circle or shape around your building, then go ahead and just grab some spruce fences, oak logs, and spruce slabs, and kind of just like weave your way around something like this until you eventually make a fence that you think is suitable for your needs. But I know there's quite a lot of you out there who would rather have a perfectly symmetrical fence, so that's what I'm here to show you how to do. That is a barrel we need to place down. So as you can see, I've already made a start around the back just to make sure everything is working symmetrically speaking, which it is. So what we need to do is grab some spruce fences, and we want to place 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of them on the right hand side of a spruce doorway just in front of the barrel here. So just make sure you're to the right and not the left, otherwise it's going to get confusing. So we got 5 of them, then we need an oak log and a slab on top, and then we're going to do the same again. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, place another with a slab on top. We can then do 1, 2 and 3 to the left going towards the spruce door, and then we're going to have another oak and a slab. We can then go 1, 2 and then come in by a block and go 1, 2 and 3, and then go in by a block and go 1 and 2. Then we're going to have another oak log with a slab, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, come in by a block, 1, 2 and 3, do the same again and actually repeat that pattern. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then an oak log. Now's a good time to come from this oak log and place down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 counting blocks, and you should see it lines perfectly up in the middle of these trapdoors. So if you've got that correct, you know you're doing good so far. What we can then do from this oak log is go 1, 2, go back by a block, 1, 2, and then same again, and place another one here. And then we're going to do that once more. So 1, 2, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, and another oak log. And then we can go across by 1, 2, 3, have another oak log, and then if we get lucky, we can turn around and we should be in line with the barrel. Bingo, we are. So we can do the same as what we've done over there and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then another 5 from this barrel, and then the last log can go right here. So I know that was a lot of counting. Hopefully it was easy enough to follow along with. You can then do this for all of these sections, starting, as I said earlier, on the right hand side of the spruce door. So as you can see, this one's already done. You basically continue on around, starting over there. Hopefully that all makes sense. I know it's a little bit confusing. So as you can see, we are now left with 4 different areas to hold 4 different animals, and in this tutorial I'm going to be doing pigs, chickens, cows and sheep. Obviously you can change them up if you wanted to, but those are the 4 main types. I think it works pretty well. So before we start terraining and texturing the floor, we're actually going to add in the small details that are going to go in each of these pens. So we're going to start off with the cows and the sheep, and basically all we're going to do for these guys is make them a little bit of a watering trough. So it does not matter where you put these. I'm going to put maybe 1 or 2 in each of them, but if you just find a nice little spot, and we're going to add in 3 stairs just like that, and then we'll put a spruce trapdoor on either side as well as 3 at the front, and then if you want to you can also do 3 round the back. And we're pretty much just going to waterlog those stairs to make an infinite water source, and it's as though the cows or the sheep will be able to drink out of it. So you can add in 1 or 2 of them in each of your cow and sheep pens. As for the pigs, well, we're going to make them a small feeding trough, and I think one of these will suffice for these guys. So what we're going to do is start off by placing in 3 composters on the floor, and then we just want to fill them all the way to the top so that we either get the white texture, whatever that is, at the top, and maybe just have them at varying levels to look as though they've been eaten. I think that looks pretty good. And either side of the composters, we're going to have a spruce slab and then a spruce trapdoor just in front of it. We're then going to have a spruce stair facing outwards on both of the sides. Then we'll have 2 spruce slabs, and then lastly we'll have 1 stair in the middle. And there we go. There's a nice little feeding trough. As I said, 1 is probably enough, but if you have a slightly bigger area perhaps, you could always add in 2. As for the chicken pen over here, we're actually going to make them a small chicken coop, and we're going to start off with 8 oak logs laid out like I have here, all 1 block apart, and we're going to bring them up by an additional 1 just like that. And now what we can do on the outer logs is we're going to have a spruce stair facing outwards on both of them, and then the central one can actually curve them round just like that. And we can do the same over on this one too, so we should get something like that. And we're actually also going to do the same in the middle here. So once again, 2 stairs facing outwards on either side, and then we just want to step in the center here and place in 2 more like that so that we get something that looks like this. And then pretty much we just want to fill the rest in with some of our spruce slabs like so. Next up, we then want to place in 1, 2, and 3 spruce stairs at the front of the chicken coop. This is how they're going to get in. So what we can actually do is just place down some rails like this. You need to place a temporary one here just to get it looking like a little ladder that they can walk up, which I think is pretty cute. And then above this block, we're just going to have 3 spruce trapdoors. As for around the sides and the back, what we're going to do is have a spruce stair upside down underneath all of these blocks, all 5 of them, and then we can have a spruce trapdoor underneath it, flicked upwards like so. Then what we can do is grab some full spruce planks, and in between all of these logs, we just want to place 2 down like that, so it's nicely closed off on all of the little areas. And then the last thing to do is place in a spruce slab level with the upside down stair at the front, and you actually want to get your water bucket and waterlog that slab. You can't see the water, but trust me, it's there, and I can prove it to you because if we place in a horn coral fan on top of it, it's not going to turn into a dead coral, which means it's hydrated from the water, and it kind of looks like a little bit of a chicken nest that they can hatch their eggs onto. So now it's time to texture the terrain and make it suit the animal that's inside of it. And we're going to begin here with the cows and the sheep. And pretty much we're just using a combination of podzol, coarse dirt, and path blocks to make the terrain look not as clean. We want to make this dirty. There's animals walking around, messing it up, making it all muddy. So we're basically just trying to create that sort of atmosphere. So once we've got all of that added in for the cows and the sheep, we can then on both of them add in a little bit of tall grass, not too much, we don't want to overdo it, but also a few stacks of hay bales for the animals to graze on as they spend their days in this pen. As for the pigs, they are renowned for being muddy animals, so we're pretty much just going to do the same thing as what we did for the cows and the sheep, but turn it up a notch. We're just going to use a lot more podzol path blocks and coarse dirt and make this place look super duper muddy. The only other thing that we're going to add in that's different to the cows and the sheep are a couple of mud ditches, I guess we can call these, places for the pigs to roll around in and really get messy. So we're just going to make almost a creeper blast in the floor is sort of what it looks like, and we're just going to texture it in a way so it looks a little bit muddier, and that is simply by using some brown concrete powder mixed in alongside the regular coarse dirt, podzol and path block. And last but not least, we have the chickens, and these guys are obviously a lot smaller than the rest of the animals, and therefore I don't think they would mess up their terrain quite as much. So all we're going to do for these guys is use coarse dirt and path blocks, never mind the podzol for the chickens. And even there, we're not going to be adding in much at all, only a little bit just to make the pen not look really plain and boring just by having grass alone. So once we got all of that textured, as well as a little bit of tall grass with some bone meal, minus the flowers of course, we can then sprinkle in a little bit of yellow concrete powder, and this simply is meant to be small patches of bird seed that has got thrown out onto the grass, ready for the chickens to nibble up for some food. So there we go everybody, that is the tutorial all done. It's a bit of a long one, but I hope you managed to stick through to the end. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I really hope it's helped you out, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.